It's Saturday night,
The kids are in bed,
which means we did it. We survived another week.
so let's talk about it.
From our latest homebrew project,
To kids' crafting projects.
it's just talking life with two young kids and two dogs. Grab your favorite beverage, sit back,
Relax.
and see where the conversation takes us.
Sometimes we don't even know until we get there. This is the Craft Parenting Podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of the Craft Parenting Podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Another week has flown by and it is once again Saturday and time to record another episode. My name is Joe Ludwig and with me is my lovely wife and co-host Caroline. How's it going, Caroline?
Well, this weekend wasn't as exhausting as last weekend was, but I'm still feeling really tired. Now, did Elliot wake up early? I want to say Elliot woke up early today. He at least woke up early yesterday.
I think like the 6:30 range.
No, he actually didn't wake up until like 8:30. No, Lily woke up first this morning, I think. I don't remember. No, Lily woke up first. And then Elliot woke up, so I had to get both kids out of bed. But that wasn't until like 8:30.
Well, we have another great show planned out for you this week. We took our microphones on the road and we found Stephen and Hillary to continue our part 2 episode.
No matter how hard they try to run away from us,
Yeah,
we just keep following them around with microphones.
we
saying,
got them.
You will record with us.
Yes, we got them.
I mean, ignore the fact that we had to tie them down to their chairs, and it's fine.
Fed them dinner.
Against their will.
Yes, it was an awful arrangement. I think we had chili.
It was really yummy chili.
Yes. So that's coming up soon. But right now we're going to talk all about what we did this week. So Caroline, what did we do this week?
A bunch of things. So last week, Saturday was insane. We drove all over the state.
That's a weird way to put it.
We drove a lot. Not all over the state, though.
In a post-COVID world, we drove a lot.
Yeah,
That's the most I've driven since 2019, probably.
probably. Well, no, we just went to Myrtle Beach. You drove quite a bit on the way to and from Myrtle Beach.
Okay. Fair point.
That was a thing that happened. So Sunday was mostly just a recovery day from Saturday. I did post a really cute picture on our Instagram. I washed Lily's blanket because Lily's blanket had gone everywhere with us. And we just wrapped Lily up in her blanket while she watched Moana, and she did not move. She was like, I just lay here now.
We have successfully worn out the toddler.
It was hard, but we did it.
Thank you, Kim, for letting us borrow your yard.
Yeah.
Because she literally just ran back and forth.
So Kim has a shed in the back corner of her yard, and Lily would run from the patio to the shed, to the patio, to the shed, and she'd knock on the shed door and say, hello. So I was trying to teach her to say, hello, we are trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty, but I think that phrase is a bit too hard for her.
It's a bit complicated
Yeah.
for a 2-year-old.
Kim has a septic system, and Lily stood on the concrete thingy for her septic tank and would quote unquote jump off of it. She would super bend her knees and then she'd stand up straight and then walk off of the septic tank. And she did that so many times. And one time she actually like bent down and touched her toes. And I was like, oh boy, she's going to do it this time. And no, stand up, walk off of septic tank.
She did yell, jump.
She did. She yelled jump a lot.
Yeah.
She would count herself down. 3, 2, 1.
Does she say 3?
Kind of. She mostly does 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Sometimes she makes it to 3. And she was just adorable. Monday, Lily was attempting to explore the house more while we were out and about for work. Mom sent me a photo of Lily hanging over the back of our couch, trying to see what's in the little corner behind our couch. Like, as long as she doesn't fall down.
Dog hair. Dog hair is behind the couch.
So much dog hair. And Lily is now able to identify drawings of herself and quote unquote Bubba. That nickname is really sticking. Poor Elliot. So Mom drew a picture of Lily in front of her swing set and a picture of Elliot playing with some blocks, but it was like very much like shape pictures of Lily and Elliot. And Lily would point to herself and say Lily, and would point to the baby and say Bubba, and it was really cute. On Tuesday, I convinced Joe to take a family date trip to the coffee shop before he had to go to work. So he loaded the kids up into the van, and we went to Sailor Park Coffee. It was a nice little change of pace. Got you out of the house at least.
Yay.
And then after we got back, I took Lily to story time at the library again. She does not want to sit still, but she had a lot of fun. She just kept running around and around and around.
I'm sure the librarians love that.
So when they were doing songs, Lily would dance with her while all of the other kids were just standing awkwardly around their parents. Lily was actually dancing.
She does love to dance.
Yeah. And then, of course, because these are all songs geared towards small children, they have motions in it. They would say the motion 3 times. And the third time that they said the motion would be when Lily would pick it up. So clap. And so we do 2 rounds of clapping. And then Lily would be like, oh, we clap now. But the most adorable one was when we would jump, because she would say jump while she jumped. She's so cute. On Wednesday, your parents were very adamant that Bubba is probably not the best nickname because he's a little chunky and Elliot is adorable, but that's going to be a nickname that's going to stick for forever. And I was like, well, until Lily can say brother or Elliot, this is kind of what we got. At least we're consistent with the name, so that's good.
Yeah.
And then after we got home, you changed Elliot's diaper, and I was retelling this story to you. And then I was like, Bubba, you want to go out to yonder pasture and watch the cows? Or something to that extent. And Elliot just looked at me and gave me the biggest grin ever. And I was like, yep, he's going to be a country boy. That was cute.
He does have a really nice smile.
He does. Everybody tells him that he's cute, so him and Lily will be fighting for attention at some point. Strangers need to give me validation of my cuteness. Larry made us dinner. It was very tasty.
It was chicken.
Yep.
And he made a fancy marinade.
He did. Something with our Dijon mustard because he used up all my Dijon mustard, which was fine.
And lemon juice. He had to go to the store to get lemon juice.
Well, he also had to go to the store to get propane because we had run out of propane on Sunday when you were making dinner.
Great. Yes.
And then I'm slowly working on Elliot's blanket more. I'm trying to get at least a row done a day. If I can get it done before entries to the county fair are due, that would be fantastic. That's kind of what I'm trying to do. But I'm 75 to 85% of the way done with it. So I'm getting somewhere with it at least. And then on Thursday, Lily, Elliot, Mom, and myself all went to Happy Hangout together. Elliot's still a bit young for it because he can't do anything other than look cute.
And roll.
Yeah, and roll.
He does like to roll.
And just stick everything into his mouth, which I'm not quite comfortable with him doing in a public setting yet. So Mom and myself traded off holding him, and he sat in a stroller for a bit too. But he just smiled at everybody and just looked like a big, adorable baby. I attempted to take Lily to story time. She made it through about the first 5 minutes before she just ran out the door, and I was like, okay. You can go play. There's too much going on for you to focus on story time. And you can see my blog post that Joe will link to in the show notes, all about Happy Hangout.
Yeah, it's a new local business, right?
Yeah, it's our second time going, and Lily had as much fun the second time as she had the first. Fortunately for all of the adults' ankles and children's legs' sake, the shopping cart was not visible. I don't know if it finally broke and died or if they had just decided to take it off of rotation to give the kids some time away from it. I don't know because lots of small children were violent with the shopping cart. On Friday while we were at work. And she's been slowly doing this more, but Lily is becoming more defensive of her things.
Oh, yeah.
It's her table. It's her tunnel. So while Elliot was doing what he does, which is just roll all over the living room until he runs into things, which he'll play with and then get bored of it and then roll into the next thing. He rolled into her table, which she then said mine and pulled the table a few feet away from Elliot. And she's done that with a few other things as well.
It was today. She was playing with the blanket for her doll, and I guess she forgot about it and lost interest in it, and Elliot was rolling around. He rolled on top of the blanket.
And then proceeded to try to shove it in his face.
Yeah.
Like you do.
And Lily said, mine. And she said, no. And then she tried to grab it.
Yeah. So we're trying to work on trade, which is, okay, you just took a toy from Elliot. Now you have to give him a toy to replace the thing that you just took from him. Because right now, Elliot's like, oh, okay, the thing that was in front of me is gone. I don't even remember what that was. So you just hand him something else and he's content. But eventually he will be able to hopefully fight back and say, no, I would like to have this thing. Why don't you play with this thing instead? We'll see how that goes.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah. And then Friday night, we went out to Chandler's, a local burger joint, for dinner, which was yummy. And Lily did really good.
Well, both of them did good.
Yeah. They both stayed chill. Lily got to eat some yummy food.
Yeah, and Elliot is too small, believe it or not, for a high chair.
Well, it's more he doesn't have the core strength yet. He can't sit up on his own, so we can't put him in a high chair yet.
Right, but to say anything about him as small does him a huge injustice. Let's put it that way. He is not a small kid, but he's not even 6 months yet, so he's not sitting up, as you said. So our options include we could have brought in the pumpkin seat, which we didn't want to do, so one of us had to hold him.
And then he's very grabby now.
Oh, yeah.
So he wants the paper that your food is on. He wants the fry that you're trying to eat. He wants that drink that's in your hand. So you have to be really careful that only safe things are within reach, or it will end up on the floor or in his mouth.
So on Saturday, Elliot got up early, as you alluded to before.
Yeah.
At 6:30.
I appreciated the wake-up call. I really needed that in my life.
He fell back asleep.
At 9.
At 9, yeah.
When we were like, hey, maybe we could. And Elliot is sleeping in his crib. Okay, we're home all morning.
So we just kind of chilled with the kids. When did we watch The Bad Batch? Guess that was on Friday. Huh?
Yeah, that was Friday night after we got back from dinner and put the kids to bed.
Yeah, so we hung out with Lily. I think we turned on 101 Dalmatians.
No, we didn't watch 101 Dalmatians until Saturday night. I don't think we put on any movie.
No, we didn't. You're right.
We just played around the house. And then Elliot woke up and we played around the house some more. And then after we put both kids down for a nap, we handed my mom the 2 baby monitors and said, we will be back. And we looked at carpet.
So exciting.
It's hard. Choices are hard. Figuring out what you're not going to hate is hard.
Well, I think we narrowed it down, so that's good.
Yeah, we narrowed it down. Fortunately, should be able to do one floor one day and the other floor like a week later, potentially. Or we'll just do everything all in one day and cram everything in the library. I don't know. We'll see when they come out to measure our house. But it was hilarious and annoying because we looked at carpet samples and then she was like, here, these are the 2 carpet samples that we usually have in stock because this is what our builders use. And so after she walked away to go deal with another couple that was there, I talked to Joe for like 5 minutes about all of the different things that I did not like about this carpet. So we would not be getting this carpet. So we continued to look at carpet samples. And I was like, oh, hey, I like this carpet. It seems pretty nice. XYZ. And then like a minute later, I look and I'm like, this is the carpet sample that 10 minutes ago I said I did not like at all. How are we supposed to make a decision about these things?
Yeah, it's hard. And carpet is more permanent than paint.
Well, yeah, if you don't like a paint color, you can potentially change some accessories or just slap a new coat of paint on it a year later.
Exponentially cheaper, too.
Yeah. But carpet, you don't realize how much you look at it. So after that, we got 2 different carpet samples to figure out which one we like more. And then we went to the grocery store where we were slightly bummed that there was not a bartender there. But oh well, it was still a nice date day. We got stuff done. We adulted.
I guess so.
Yeah. And then I made dinner for the weirdos that came over to our house.
Such weirdos.
They are.
The chili was good, though.
It was. I did most of it this time because the last few times you've done the chili. This time I did the chili. It worked out.
So now it's time for What's Bugging Caroline in Children's TV. Caroline, what is bugging you in children's TV?
So, I mean, this has bugged me for a while, but now it's like in my home. It has come to my house. And I do not appreciate it. So Frozen is a very cute Disney movie. I enjoy it, but it's basically child crack. We haven't watched it a whole lot with Lily. We didn't play the songs a whole lot for her either.
Not any more than
Not
the
any
other
more than
songs.
anything else. Like, really, we played Tangled songs more. And now she's like legitimately obsessed with it. She's always singing Let It Go. I mean, we're like 95% sure that it's Let It Go.
No, it is.
Yeah. And we watched the movie today, and she was like staring at the screen the whole time. And we're like, who are these people? Elsa. But she doesn't really say Anna yet. She just kind of stares. But she can like point out the characters now. And I'm very concerned about what Disney is putting into their movies, because now this is in my house. And I don't appreciate it.
Do we need to buy the record of Frozen soundtrack and play it backwards?
And make sure there aren't any like satanic references in it? Probably. Though if we do that, we'll probably like summon a demon to our house or something. I don't want that juju.
We'll do it at my mom's house.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
My dad's old speakers and
old computer monitors.
Yes. I don't know what it is about Frozen. I guess it's colorful.
Well, it's not even like she's obsessed with Olaf. It's more the sisters.
Yeah.
And like if it was Olaf, okay, I get that. He's cute and funny. But I'm very concerned. Like, we did not care about who these characters were. And now they're like our favorites ever.
I mean, we do play the songs more for her now.
Yeah.
Because she's freaking adorable.
She is. And I mean, I guess it's helping her to get her language skills in too, because she's mimicking the songs, and it's like every third time that she listens to it, she definitely gets more of the lyrics and the melody out of it. I mean, she's not perfect, but she's getting closer.
My favorite is when she mimics Elsa putting down her hair.
Yeah, she does do that, and it's hilarious. Like, she just rubs the side of her head, like in time, pretty much with when Elsa does that in the song.
Yeah, and I own the soundtrack, so
we're not like constantly watching the video.
Yeah, and she'll do it even when it's audio only.
There's gotta be some kind of subliminal messaging in there that only toddlers hear. There's gotta be something.
Yeah, I was wondering that myself, because every child loves that song.
Yeah, it's a lot ridiculous.
Well, Caroline, I noticed that you have an adult beverage. What are you drinking tonight?
So I'm not 100% sure what I'm drinking, but I know that we made it and that it's a honey wheat that we brewed in August of 2020 and that it's delicious. But I don't know what ABV or IBU it is because we forgot to write any of that down.
Yeah, we didn't write that one down, did we?
No. I mean, in our defense, we had a 1-year-old running around the house. It's a miracle that this got brewed and bottled. But it's so good.
We definitely delayed bottling it. It sat in the fermenter for quite a while.
We did. And I had one of these a few days ago just to make sure that it would be good for the podcast. And I somehow got the sediment bottle. But it was still really yummy. I mean, this is still pretty yummy, too. It's nice and crisp. I'm getting a little bit of the honey still. Hey, Hubs, I notice you have a taxed beer in front of you. What are you drinking?
It's a Summer Ale by Sam Adams. So, and the ABV on this is 5.3, and the IBU is 8. And this is their description. Summer Ale is an American wheat ale. This hazy, golden, unfiltered brew combined crisp wheat with the bright citrus of lemon peel and subtle spice of grains of paradise. This rare African pepper, closely related to cardamom, was first used as a brewing spice in the 13th century and adds just the right peppery kick. All these flavors come together to create a thirst-quenching and utterly refreshing brew, perfect for those warm summer days. Cheers to the weekend, and Lord help us in the week ahead, because starting tomorrow, we are going to have to do it all over again. More crazy adventures are ahead, and we will make sure to share them with you each week right here on the Craft Parenting Podcast. So now we're doing something a little bit different. We took our microphones on the road with us so we could talk to our good friends, Stephen and Hillary. We continued our conversation about international travel tips and tricks. And this time we talked about how and what to pack, tips for getting through customs, traveling between countries, how to deal with different cultures and languages, and a lot more. So let us pack up the microphones and let us get on our way. Hey, Stephen and Hillary. How's it going?
Good,
How are
Joe
you?
and Caroline. How are you two doing?
Good.
So we're going to jump right into our favorite topic, or one of my favorite topics is how to pack for a trip.
Yeah, and this is part 2,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So welcome back to the podcast. Thank you for being here. So as you said, we're going to talk about what and how to pack. And you are the expert on this.
I think we're the experts on how to pack light
Mhm.
because we like to make sure that we don't have to check a bag. And my mother-in-law taught me how to pack light because she literally only takes one outfit with her when
Yep.
she travels. And I don't think that counts the one she has in her bag. I think she takes one altogether, right?
I think so, yeah.
So I'm not that light. We haven't figured out how to pack that light, but she's taught us how to pack really super light. So that way you don't have to check a bag and you can keep everything with you. And it's really, really super useful.
I will say definitely not the style of travel if you want to be super fancy, but if you are okay with not being super fancy and not having just nearly as much to try and juggle when you're in the airport and train stations and all that, it is a very wonderful thing.
Well, yeah, you just have to make sure that if you plan on getting souvenirs, they are going
Yes.
to fit in your bag.
Yes.
So Steven and I never buy souvenirs anymore. We used to buy like what I call dustables occasionally, like where, you buy something and then you have to take it home and dust it. So we don't buy the dustables anymore. Now we just buy a magnet from each country we go
Yep.
to, and it's kept us really to be able to stay super light when we travel, which is nice.
The one thing to note, it's not always, of course, going to be the cheapest, but if you are looking to buy larger souvenirs, you can always ship them back. My first trip to Germany, we bought cuckoo clocks, and the place we bought them from actually handled all the shipping themselves. So, especially if you're going to places where it's more elaborate things like cuckoo clocks, they will in-house take care of the shipping. But apart from that, there are other places that will handle that for you if you can't carry them back.
If you do go without any checked baggage, you can always check one of your bags for the way home.
Yep.
Just make sure that you have the space for it. And I do know that these are like crazy people where they will pack a suitcase inside of their suitcase
Mm-hmm.
so that they have an extra suitcase for like the trip back home. I've never gotten to that point.
We have done not that exact thing, but a similar-ish thing where we try to keep everything within a hiking bag with an internal frame, but usually those are a bit cumbersome to have, day-to-day going around a city. So we'll put a smaller backpack inside of there to be able to pull out and use just as we're traveling around from day to day, but kind of the similar idea of the crazy people who do rollers inside rollers.
Well, so when we pack, it depends on how long the trip is going to be, whether we cram everything into one suitcase or if we pack 2 suitcases. So when we went to Europe for 2 weeks, we packed 2 checked bags, one for each of us. And then we made the mistake that we didn't realize was going to be a mistake of packing all of Joe's things in one suitcase and all of my things in another suitcase. And then my suitcase got lost for 4 days. It hung out in Atlanta for an extra day.
And that is another benefit of not doing the check bags.
Yeah.
And on the opposite end of the spectrum, Hillary and I did a 3-week Europe trip, and we each just had our hiking bags. And one of the ways we do that is we have some clothes that are quick dry. So when we bunkered down for the night, we would wash a handful of things just in the sink and be able to hang them up to dry so that they were ready to go the next morning. There were also things that partway through that trip we did at one of the hostels we were staying at, actually utilize their washing facilities to get a more thorough clean on larger swath of items.
And that was the only night that we wore our nice clothes. So
Yeah.
we wore a full-length black dress and a black polo shirt to wash our clothes in the hostel because that's all we had left in our luggage. And I would say to wash our clothes, it was nice because my mother-in-law gave us a bungee clothesline, so that way you could hang up your clothes once you washed your quick drying stuff, and then a flat sink drain stopper. So you've got a sink usually in your room or near your room when you're in a hostel that you can put a flat sink drain stopper and then wash your clothes in that sink, which is really awesome for that.
Do you want to do a quick sidebar and describe what the difference is between a hostel and a hotel?
So one of the big differences is with hostels, the typical rooms that you're going to have are going to be more dormitory style, where you don't have necessarily a private room. Might be 10 beds in a room or so, and other
Right.
people are in there. But a lot of hostels, if not most hostels now, do also have private rooms available.
We did that several times. I think our first couple hostels were private rooms,
Yeah.
and they weren't much more expensive than the group rooms.
And the one thing that we like a lot about hostels too, and this varies certainly too from location to location, but it almost to us felt like more of a community kind of thing. Like
Right. Yeah.
our favorite place was Granada, Spain, and the hostel that we stayed out there, they did one of the nights a little cookout where, everybody hung out, had food and drinks and everything, and directly through the hostel they ran some different tours and things like that.
So we
Oh,
did like a
nice.
hike. We did like a hike through the mountains. We met
Mhm.
gypsies, and they made sangria for us. And the locals sold us prickly pears, and it was just
Yeah.
really like it felt like we got to know that group of people really well because we
Right.
roomed with them and we ate with them and we toured with them in the hostel. And every morning in every hostel they had a kitchen downstairs, and you could make your own food if you wanted to. But a lot of times they would just have bread and
Mhm.
jam and coffee and
Mhm.
stuff down there in that hostel. So it was really nice because it was like a continental breakfast in a super, super cheap
Yeah.
accommodations. We used Hostels International,
Yeah.
right? Hostels International was like an app on our phone. So we had really good phone service, which I highly recommend. Like that was a lifesaver
Mhm.
because we didn't book anything ahead of time. So each night we would look on Hostels International and we would say, what's the closest hostel near us? What's the cheapest? What's the, best
Right.
rated one or whatever. And then we would just book that same day, and it'd be like $15 for
Mhm.
the night or whatever, and it was amazing. So
Mhm.
we highly recommend it. I think it's an amazing way to travel.
Yeah.
That's another difference, a perceived difference that I have. A hotel, you need reservations, I would
Mm.
imagine. In a hostel, typically you just show up.
Right. And you can certainly with hostels you can definitely book well in advance as well. And I'm sure depending on what's going on in the area, like, last time we were talking about are there festivals and things going on. So yeah, if you're going to a city where they've got big event going on, probably not going to be able to find, maybe not even a hostel last minute as easily like that. But
Or you're going to be paying out the nose for a hotel room,
Right.
potentially.
But yeah, I do certainly think there is, not always, but probably more likely that you'll run into a premium on the cost of a hotel room if you're doing it last minute versus you're
Right.
not really going to see that as much with the hostel.
And you mentioned your backpack that you brought.
Yeah.
We picked you up from the airport
Mm-hmm.
and we saw you guys walking back,
Yeah.
back through security or whatever. And those were pretty large backpacks.
They're
They're they're legit hiking backpacks.
Yeah.
So like the frame inside keeps it really light because it keeps the weight up higher.
Mhm.
But you do have to check the weight and dimension limits with your airlines for carry-ons.
Yeah.
Because more budget airlines will enforce the weight limit. So
Yeah.
ours typically weigh between 20 and 25 pounds. Iceland Air had very strict weight and size limits, but when we went to Iceland, we packed a little heavier because we actually packed roller carry-ons that would normally be fine carried on, but they ended up checking us, and then we ended up having to check our bags, right?
Right.
Because we ended up thinking we would need a lot more warm clothes. So just check your weight limits and make sure that your bags are not crazy heavy and can
And if
condense.
and if you don't already have a hiking backpack and you're looking to buy one, I don't have any specific brand recommendations because we're still using the ones that my mom and I bought when I was like 12.
Nice.
But I have been kind of starting to look at getting new ones. Keep an eye on the weight of the backpack itself because, if you are flying on an airline where they strictly enforce like an 18, 19 pound limit and your bag itself is 7 or 8 pounds, that really limits what you're going to be able to fit in there and stay under that limit. But, if you just do a quick Google search, there's a lot of really good, like, best of lists out there that'll give you a good idea of different backpacks and will make it really easy to see what weights they are. Because, there are some good ones out there that are only a couple pounds, so they don't eat into what you can take if you're worried a little bit more about that. The other thing, talking about what you take along, because we're not checking bags, we also can't take, big bottles of bug spray and sunscreen and all that. and my wife is rather fair-skinned and needs a good amount of sunscreen. So we usually take just a small bottle to get us started, but plan on buying a big bottle when we get to wherever we are so that we're, not trying to finagle something weird with our luggage that way.
And I don't think we said it, but I don't pack as light as my mother-in-law, so I don't pack just the one outfit, but we pack about a week's worth of clothes rolled up to conserve space, and sometimes even shoved into if we take a heavier pair of shoes, we'll shove them into our boots.
You wear your heaviest pair of shoes.
You're right. You wear your heaviest pair.
And then, so when we were going to Europe, we wore our hiking boots, and then we packed tennis shoes to help conserve space. We'd stuff the tennis shoes full of our socks and things like that.
And then we bought new shoes because we walked so much that we wore holes in our shoes and socks.
Oh my God.
Most of our big walking trips, though, we got new shoes a month or two before the trip so we could make sure that they were broken in. But I have new shoes. I don't have to worry about where I'm going to get new shoes.
Yeah.
For those of you who have not met Joe in person, he is 6'2" and wears a size 15 shoe.
That'd be hard.
That a lot of stores do not stock. And then trying to convert over to European sizes, I don't even know where to begin.
It would have been, I think, a much harder chore for us to buy shoes in Spain had my feet been a size 15.
They laughed at me when I tried to buy clothes in Bali. I tried to try something on in the tent, and the woman was laughing at me, and I was like, I'm so glad I didn't wait to buy all my clothes in Bali. I'm so glad I packed clothes.
So I have a shirt that is an extra large women's shirt that when I was a lot lighter than I am right now, fit me. And now that I'm in large women's shirts, that extra large shirt that I bought in Disneyland Paris no longer fits.
Yes, Disneyland Paris is really small.
Bought a Disneyland Paris shirt as well and got a large, and I'm down to a medium size in normal US stuff. And I am still struggling to get into that shirt.
Yeah, so definitely European sizes do not mesh.
Yeah.
But I feel especially with we probably should have talked about this a lot sooner. The differences between different kinds of packaging items. So typically when you book your flight, you tell them whether or not you're going to check a bag, and they'll give you a weight limit for that. Typically it's 50 pounds. So make sure that you're packing at most 30 pounds on your way there, because bringing home dirty clothes plus souvenirs, you're going to end up getting closer to that 50 pounds on your way home. And they don't typically have size limits for those. But you do have to make sure that you have a TSA approved lock on that. So if they do need to get into your suitcase or they choose to randomly search you, they can undo that lock without needing you or breaking it. Now you have no lock.
Stephen actually we had a thing about locks too. He said small baggage locks are helpful for crowded subways and hostels, or use their lockers in a hostel.
Yeah, so I'll get to that in a second. But then when you go on the plane, you're typically allowed, and it'll vary by your airline, but 2 items. They say a carry-on and a personal item. So your carry-on is what you guys would be considering your backpack.
Yep.
But it would also be a small roller bag. My roller bag that I was using as my standard suitcase, I discovered when we were packing our trip to Europe, oh, this is actually a carry-on bag. I have a size bigger suitcase that was hiding away somewhere. That I could have been using this whole time. So that's what goes in the overhead bin. And then your personal item is typically marked as a bag, a backpack, or a purse that can fit in the seat underneath you. So when you had the issue getting to Iceland, it was because you had your hiking backpack and a roller carry-on. Well, both of those were technically the same size as carry-on items.
No, and for Iceland, we just had the rollers and a small backpack each, so we weren't taking our hiking backpacks then.
Right.
Our roller was our carry-on, but we were using Iceland Air. They're a budget airline. Their overhead compartments are smaller than Delta, American, United. So our carry-on size bag would not fit. It was just a couple inches or
I've
an
never
inch or
had
two
any
too big.
airline check actually use those little
Little
metal
cubes.
things.
Yeah.
Iceland Air was trying to put those down in there, and the only
Yeah.
reason they wouldn't fit is because the wheels were slightly bigger. So that's the only reason was the wheels. And so the normal carry-on roller bag that would normally be fine on any other airline was not okay on Iceland Air. So we always just say check.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Usually your check bag, they don't care.
Right.
Because if it's over a certain weight, that's really what they care about, and then they're going to charge you for it. eventually we're going to get to a point where airlines are going to say you need to declare your weight range with all of your carry-on items. So it's going to be you plus carry-on items get on the scale. If you are out of this 50-pound range,
gonna be a lot of mad people.
There's
if
gonna
you
be a
do
lot of
that.
mad people
There'd
about
be a
that,
lot of
too.
mad people if you did that. I don't think they want to deal with that.
There are many movies where they force larger people to buy 2 seats.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
many instances. I think there's.
That's like a fictional movie. I don't know.
I have
I've never.
run
I
into
think
that
there's-
going
I've-
to New York
I think
before.
And
people have
I've
done that.
talked with people that have had to buy 2 seats, or
Oh,
I work
that's
with a
rough.
guy that he doesn't travel a lot, but like he'll go down to Florida or out to Vegas, and he always flies first class because those seats are big enough that he only has to buy the one, and it's more comfortable.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wait, because the thing is, too, like, okay, yeah, you're buying 2 seats, but there is also this armrest in the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
So good luck finding a place that gets comfy.
Yeah.
And based on your budget, you can look at first class versus business class versus comfort plus versus your standard cattle call seat.
I was gonna say.
Never heard it called that, but not
Well,
bad.
It's funny that you mentioned that, though, kind of getting off topic here, but there are, I don't know if you've seen them, but some airlines are testing out new seats
Yes,
where
I
you're
saw.
basically like sitting on a bike seat
And
and
people
you're
are, like-
standing
Oh, yeah,
up
I saw
mostly.
that. And
You're
that's
spooning
like,
the person.
Yeah. It's
Is that a troll?
no,
No.
I
it's
think
legit.
it's legit.
Yeah, I don't know if or when they will actually start using those, but they have been testing out ways to be able to fit more people in.
You know, for really, really short trips, if it's like $25 a seat.
Yeah. if it's cheap enough and I'm flying less than 2 hours, maybe.
Maybe.
But it has got to be cheap enough.
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
No way. I would rather drive.
Across the ocean. We're going to
Yeah.
drive across the ocean.
They're probably doing that to make more room for people's luggage.
Probably. Wow. Hey.
Zing, got her.
I paid my checked bag fee.
The glare across the table. I just swear by. I just preach the light packing because of how
Yeah.
well it's worked for us. That's the
It's-
only thing.
Yeah.
Reason.
Yeah. it's
Yeah, we
really
were
nice.
definitely not good at that.
Yeah.
I'm only good at it because of his mom.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's definitely something that you do have to get
you
used
gotta
to.
want it.
You have to want it. So I mean, kind of the way we get into it is we will lay all our stuff out on our bed and basically just take a long hard look at it and be like, do we need this?
And Steven will
And-
say, "No, Hillary," and I'll cry a little, and then the next day we'll
It's-
lay all our stuff out again, and he'll say, "No, Hillary," and he'll get rid of this piece of clothing, and I'll cry a little.
it's a very emotional time.
Yeah. Well, and part of it is I'm not going to necessarily say like how you want to spend your trip, but what you're willing to put up with on vacation.
Yes.
Because, like, I'm not going to necessarily put up with spending 2 hours at the hostel to do a load of laundry because, like, I don't want to do that. I don't
Right.
even want to do that at home.
Well, and we wouldn't have had to. I mean, like, really, like, I don't know that we really would have had to do the
Yeah.
laundry. It just felt good to have fully clean. Like, everything was clean in our bag
Yeah.
then versus because we had just been piecemeal washing them. And so I
Mhm.
think that it was nice to have, like, everything clean, but we didn't have to do that.
Right.
And, like, we just had that time in the evening that one night.
Yeah, and it was longer that night because we actually used the washing facilities. But, when we're washing our quick dry stuff in the sink, that's 15, 20 minutes. That does not take very long at all.
No,
Just
because
make
I
sure
didn't
not
have
all-
to do that in Scotland.
Yeah.
Not all quick dry stuff is created equal. We traveled with my
Yes.
sister and brother-in-law, and they washed all their clothes, and my sister's stuff was quick dry in quotation marks, and it didn't dry well, and the water
Yeah.
there did not smell very good, so we had to.
She ended up
She ended up,
having everything taken to a laundromat at our next stop.
which that worked well because then we could just send. They just sent it away. It was not expensive. So she sent all her clothes away to be washed, and then we didn't have to sit there, like you said, for 2 hours. We just sent it away.
Yeah.
And they brought it back to us, washed, folded, dry. It was great. So
On that note, with not all quick dry stuff being created equal, 100% would recommend that if you buy quick dry stuff, make sure to do a test run at home before you go on your trip to see how quick dry it actually is. Because, the stuff that we're talking about, you can wash at 9, 10 o'clock at night, and by 6, 7 a.m. the next morning, it's 100% good to go just from hanging on that bungee cord overnight.
And I also liked the little spray stuff we had. It was like Downy refresher spray. If I didn't like sweat or anything in my clothes that day, it wasn't like a big deal. I just would like spray my clothes off with that stuff, and it was like, I don't know, it didn't bother me. But we're very
minimal,
easygoing too. So if you're very like fancy about your clothes, and I think that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not fancy. We're just lazy.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah. So like, even though we weren't planning on doing any laundry, know that Tide in the United States is different than Tide in Asia, is different than Tide in Europe, because P&G does their research and specially formulates it for whatever those people typically use water temperature wise or washing cycle wise. But I packed in little Tupperwares, so I knew that they wouldn't get crushed or anything. Tide Pods, 4 in Joe's bag and 4 in my bag. So that when I did end up having to do laundry, it was okay. I can just break a Tide Pod in the sink, wash these 5 pieces of clothing that I need to wash, hang them up, hope that they're dry in the morning, which usually they would be. And now we're okay to go. Like, hey, now I actually have clean clothes because I'm still waiting for my suitcase to get here from Atlanta. And please get here before I end up in London.
I think I agree with you. Like, the Tide Pod's a good idea. I don't know that I would risk not bringing your own detergent, especially if you're like sensitive. When you pack only a carry-on like we did in the airport, you have to keep all your liquids in the one Ziploc bag, and so we put just the things in there that we absolutely have to have that we can't buy when we get there. So I usually put a little bit of my own shampoo, a little bit of my own conditioner, like a bar of soap, and then I don't have to put a bar of soap in there, so I'll have a bar of soap outside of it, and then we'll do like a thing of detergent, which lasts the whole trip because I can just put a little bit in the sink and wash our clothes. I don't know, was there some other things that we put in our Ziploc bag? Just little travel balls. Make sure they're under 3 ounces.
3.4 ounces.
0.4 ounces.
But yeah, again, mileage may vary on how much they actually check on that, because our recent trip, we had a 4-ounce bottle of sunscreen.
So usually they don't care about how big the containers are. Their big thing is whether or not it fits in that sandwich size Ziploc bag.
Oh, mine always fits in there now, and I bring extra ones of those because sometimes they'll break. Like sometimes the bag will like rip through because of something like poking into it. So I bring extra of those quart-size Ziploc bags, and then I'll put a little piece of Saran wrap over top of, or cling wrap, not sponsored, over top of my soap bottles, and then put the cap on so that way things don't leak in that bag. And then anytime you have something that they don't want to see through the TSA, like they don't want you to typically have, like if I have like a disposable razor or a pair of nail trimmers or whatever, I make sure that those things are okay if they're thrown away, but I always put them in the very outside pocket of the bag so it's easily accessible, so that way when we go through security, if they see it, and they can either tell me throw it away or don't, or you can keep it, which I usually don't get stopped for those things. I did get stopped in India. They sent you through a separate line, so they had all the guys go to one line and all the females go to the other line. And they stopped me and they said, "You have scissors in your bag." And I said, "No, I don't have scissors in my bag." And they were like, "Yes, you do. They're right here." And I was like, "No." And they looked through my whole bag and they couldn't find them. And I was like, "I don't have scissors in my bag." They were looking. They finally found them in like, somehow we had this like pre-made kit from Steven's work.
Yeah.
That was like all the things you need for travel, like different travel medications and things. And in the very bottom of that bag was the tiniest pair of scissors. And I was like, "That's fine, chuck them." I don't know why they're in there, but there was like the tiniest pair of little like nail scissors or something.
Yeah, that was a little ridiculous.
So that's, I always say, like, make sure you can easily, the things that maybe they don't want to see in the TSA, you know, that they might bulk at, you can say they're right there in the front of my bag. And if you don't want me to have them, throw them away.
When we flew to New York, Joe brought his laptop in a backpack that we bought that can split in half, so your laptop ends up over here and all your other crap is over there.
It's that backpack.
Yeah, it's that backpack
actually.
we use for podcast stuff now. Like sometimes they said take it out. Sometimes they were fine with him unzipping it. We had no issues getting through Cincinnati. I think we actually took the laptop out of the bag for Cincinnati and then put our little quart-size Ziploc bags in the little basket with our shoes, descended on down, go hang out in New York, get to JFK to come home.
Before that, we went to the Disney store and I purchased a R2-D2 sweater.
Ugly Christmas sweater with flashing lights.
So it had wires in it.
Because our trip was right before Christmas.
I decided to wear it to the airport on the way home.
Nice.
I got warm, so I put it in my...
You take your shirt off?
Well, no. So we were getting closer to security. He was starting to get warm anyway, but I was like, oh, wait, what's that shirt going to show up on the full body scanner? Because there's just going to be wires everywhere. We're like, crap, we did not think this through.
That's hilarious.
This was a terrible decision. So we just cram it into his backpack.
Oh no! And then it's just a ball of wires.
And it's just a ball of wires
Suspicious
in a
ball of
backpack.
wires.
So
So we were kind of freaking
So
out.
yeah, but we go through security. I completely forget to take both of our quart-sized Ziploc bags that are in my bag, like 2 bags in my bag. They're
Yeah.
not split up between our 2 bags, out of my bag. But I do remember to throw my iPad down, so that's in a separate thing. And then Joe they pull his bag out to the side, and they're like, "Hey, we need to talk about this." And I'm like, "It's that stupid freaking sweater. We should have just checked that stupid freaking sweater. Why did we do this?" And they're like, What are you saying about a sweater?" And so we pull out the sweater and we show them the sweater, and they're like, "Oh no, we don't care about that. You have a cell phone in your bag." And we're like, "What?" It's Joe's Bluetooth mouse.
Oh,
Oh
gosh.
wow!
That is
Yeah, they were freaking
they were
out
freaking
about
out
it.
about that because they're like, "Well, it's the same size as a cell phone." And so we hold it up next to our cell phone. We're like, "No, it's much smaller than our cell phone."
Looks like a flip
Yeah.
phone is what it looks like.
And so they
Oh my
they
Get a
gosh.
burner phone.
they get all up our butts about
They were not very nice.
they were
Yeah.
not nice at all.
Wow!
They're like, you're supposed to take it out, put it in a separate bin.
Wow!
It's bigger than a cell phone.
Like-
I'm like, no, it's not. It's not bigger than a cell
We
phone.
literally didn't have any issues with this in Cincinnati. Well, that was Cincinnati. You're in New York now.
Oh, jeez.
It's all
Obviously,
different.
we are.
It's all
yeah.
different everywhere. We had them take out ponchos. They had to totally
Mhm.
take out everything out of our bag. We had
We put
Steven
the
had packed everything
ponchos
perfectly,
at the very bottom of the bag.
which are like rain jackets. If people don't know what
Yeah.
a poncho is,
Because we did not expect to need it right away. And that was the thing that they were, because it was just a
thick nylon.
thick nylon pack now, because they were compacted down, the scanners couldn't see through them, so they found it very suspicious. So they had to dig through our entire bag to get to those.
And this might be a good segue because I know that I don't know if you guys use these or not, but we use packing cubes. And only for some things, but like I like to use small packing cubes because they can help like organize like your socks and your underwear and stuff in your carry-on, but like really light ones, like mesh ones, because if you have, because then you don't want to add more weight to your bag necessarily if you're packing light. I like to have like just 1 or 2 of the packing cubes for that.
So my checked bag suitcase has these handy dandy little compartments in it that
They're
fit
rotten.
those things.
I
Sash you
feel like
back.
she's sassing me back for this.
I feel like that as well.
I do like those though. I mean, that's what I use that compartment for on the top of my roller for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it would probably be nice if we had like a separate little mesh bag for some things, but I'm just like,
I've heard they're good for kid clothes.
probably yes.
I don't plan to fly with kids.
Oh man, I gosh, it'd be hard not
It's-
to want to keep flying. I feel like, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
don't know
so it's and we talk about this in our Myrtle Beach episode, where it's 6 in one, half dozen in the other. If
Yeah.
you're leaving the country, flying is probably your way to go, but you need
Instead
to
of
make
taking a boat.
instead of taking a boat. Yeah.
Man, I couldn't imagine taking a boat. Oh my gosh, not that far, not all the way across the country,
So
and all the way across to another country.
So flying is probably your way to go because it's going to be a very long trip, and what you can necessarily take across borders might not really mesh up with what you need to take across borders. But if you're staying domestic and you're not going like literally to the other side of the country,
I would rather drive.
I would
still.
rather drive because
I would rather drive across the country.
you can put a pack and play in the van, in your vehicle. You can put some large-ish toys for the kids that are going to be more likely to keep them either contained or occupied. You can make sure that you have diapers, and a diaper pail if you're going to be gone for a while is like something that I highly recommend because you're not worrying about where all those stinky diapers are going to go. But making sure that you don't necessarily have to worry about when you get to your place that you're staying the night, what's the situation of where the kid's going to sleep? Is the crib that should have gotten delivered to this place, did it in fact get delivered? Do I have to assemble it? Meanwhile, you have a kid that's cranky because they're hungry and they're away from home versus, okay, let's grab the pack and play out of the back of the car, slap it together. Here you go. You've slept in this before. Here's your favorite blankie. Have at it. Yeah, international trips, I probably wouldn't consider doing until the kids are at least 4, if not older, to a point where I don't have to worry about like them falling out of bed as much or needing to have diapers
Or car seat
or
on the
car
plane.
seats.
Car seat
Mhm.
stresses me out.
I mean, the car seat's really the big thing now. Airlines will check your stroller and your car seat for free because that's what you need for your child.
Mm.
But you also don't know how that car seat's going to get handled
Yeah.
when it's checked. Ideally, you want it checked at the gate versus at the check-in desk.
Don't you need a car seat when they're flying?
No. So your options include car seat, holding them on your lap, or just straight up buying. Well, I mean, if you putting them in a car seat, you have to buy them their own seat. But your car seat is most likely not going to interface well with the plane. So really, if we were to fly with Elliot right now, Elliot would be against my chest 90% of the flight.
Nope. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it.
I will 100% fly with a kid.
Yeah, and I think it's just, we'll see. We'll see, right?
Well, now that we've kicked those guys out of our house, hey, Joe, you want to talk about some funny things? I mean, you think that they're funny. I just tolerate them and groan.
Well, special shout out to Stephen and Hillary for coming on the show again. Thank you guys.
And they're really lucky because they get to miss out on their favorite segment of the podcast, the one that everyone loves, and the only reason why anyone listens.
It is time for Joe's Dad Joke of the Week.
Yay.
All right, you ready for this? This week, it is vacation themed once again.
I like vacation.
All right, well, here it goes. Where do sharks go on vacation?
I don't know. Do sharks need a vacation?
For the purpose of this joke, yes.
Okay, then. The reef?
Finland.
Oh, my goodness.
Cue the applause.
How much did you spend on that track?
I don't know, but I'm getting my money's worth. That does it for this week's show. Thanks so much for listening. We want to hear from you. If you have ideas for a show topic, if you have comments about a previous show, maybe you really liked it, or maybe you learned something new, or perhaps you think we could improve. There are many ways to get in touch with us to let us know. You can send us an email at craftparentingpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Craft Parenting Podcast to get updates on when episodes have dropped, see pictures of our adorable kids, and more.
If you like what you hear, please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. Make sure to share the show with your friends, family, your neighbor down the street. It really helps our show grow. You can also send us stuff to our awesome P.O. Box at Craft Supply.
All of this
I gotta look.
All of this information is available on our beautiful website, which is www.craftparentingpodcast.com. So go check it out.
That's also where we post all of the show notes. Plus, I've been writing a ton of blog posts about some of the stuff that doesn't make it into the show. Let me know what you like and what you don't like, and I can make more of it, potentially.
If you haven't already done so, make sure you subscribe to the show. We are listed on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and just about every podcast app out there. And with that, I'm Joe.
And I'm Caroline.
See you next time on the Craft Parenting Podcast. Let's try that again. Steven, I need you to talk and you to talk.
Okay, well, what should I
Just
talk about?
sing-
Should I
sing-
talk about like
sing the
Star Wars
alphabet.
or something? I don't know the alphabet anymore. I forgot how
What's
that
the
works.
story of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Oh, Darth Plagueis the Wise. I could tell you so much about. Actually, I couldn't. I really need to read that book. Even though it's not technically canon, I feel like I should.
We can't wait for Joe to record so we can say moist, 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 moist.
Okay.
How did these people get into our house again?
I don't know.
I'm surprised
Why did we
you
let
still
them
let
into
us
our
in.
house again?
They just keep begging us to come back. Don't let them lie to you. They're like, when can you come back? We'll feed you dinner.
Help us take care of our children.
I gotta find document.
I need to talk to actual adults, please.